Mark Consuelos finally said the quiet part out loud, but not in the way people expected. After nearly 30 years with Kelly Ripa, he joked that he would stay in a loveless marriage for one reason: their dog, Lena. It sounded ridiculous. It sounded brutal. It sounded like a harmless daytime TV joke. But buried inside that moment was a real secret of their marriage. Mark and Kelly do not survive because everything is perfect. They survive because they stop pretending it has to be. The joke that made everyone listen on the surface. Mark Consuelos' confession sounded like a punchline. He said he would stay in a loveless marriage just to make sure he could be with Lena every day. Lena, of course, is not another woman. She is a family dog, a Maltese-Shih Tzu mix who somehow became powerful enough to turn one of television's most famous marriages into a mock custody battle on live TV. Kelly Ripa played along. Mark leaned into it. The audience laughed because the whole thing was silly enough to feel safe. A handsome husband, a famous wife, 3 adult children, 3 decades of marriage, and the real deal breaker is a small dog. That is funny, but it also works because everyone watching knows there is something underneath it. Couples who have been together for a few months joke one way. Couples who have been together for almost 30 years joke another way. Mark and Kelly can say things that would sound alarming from a newer couple because their audience understands a rhythm. They tease. They exaggerate. They jab. They know exactly how far to push before pulling the joke back. That is part of their brand now. They are not the soft-focused celebrity couple pretending marriage is just flowers, anniversaries, and matching smiles. Their chemistry has always been sharper than that. They interrupt each other. They expose each other's habits. They turn private domestic details into morning TV comedy. They laugh about the kind of things most couples argue about quietly. And that is what Mark accidentally admitted. Not that he wants out. Not that Kelly and Mark are secretly miserable. Not that a dog is literally the only thing holding them together. He admitted that their marriage has moved past the fragile stage where every joke needs to sound romantic. They can joke about loveless marriage because the actual relationship has survived enough life to make the joke harmless. That is a hidden twist. The confession sounds like trouble only if you ignore the history behind it. From soap opera to real-life, Mark and Kelly's relationship did not begin like a slow, careful plan. It began like a soap opera because, in a way, it was one. They met on All My Children, where Kelly was already playing Haley Vaughn and Mark was cast as Mateo Santos. On screen, the chemistry was supposed to belong to the characters. Off-screen, it quickly became something else. That is one of the strange things about their love story. It began inside a scripted world, but the real relationship moved faster and more impulsively than most writers would dare. They fell for each other, eloped in Las Vegas in 1996, and kept the marriage quiet for a while. Soon after, their family life began too. Their son Michael arrived in 1997, followed by Lola in 2001, and Joaquin in 2003. That means Mark and Kelly did not spend years slowly building a polished celebrity image before becoming parents. They grew into adulthood, marriage, fame, and family almost at the same time. And that matters because their relationship was tested early. They had careers moving in different directions. They had young children. They had public attention. They had the pressure of being recognized as a couple before they had even fully figured out what their private life would look like. Kelly eventually became one of the most durable faces on morning television. After All My Children, she moved into live, first with Regis Philbin, then through several eras of co-hosts, public transitions, and enormous scrutiny. Mark continued acting, working in television and film, while also becoming part of the public imagination as Kelly's husband. That could have created resentment. In many celebrity marriages, one partner's platform becomes the center of gravity. The other partner either resists it, disappears behind it, or competes with it. Mark and Kelly found a different arrangement. For years, he remained close enough to the show to appear naturally, but not so close that their entire marriage depended on being co-hosts. Then, years later, he joined her full-time. That was a risky move. Working with your spouse sounds charming until you remember that most couples struggle just deciding what to eat for dinner. Mark and Kelly had to sit beside each other on national television every morning and make their marriage part of the product without letting the product swallow the marriage. That is not easy, and that is why the Lena joke reveals more than it seems. They are not just married. They are married in front of an audience. The real thing Mark admitted. So what did Mark finally admit about Kelly? He admitted, in his own joking way, that their life together is built on shared attachments that go deeper than romance. That may not sound like a tabloid bombshell, but it is a truth of long marriages. Early love is about intensity. Long love is about infrastructure. The dog, the kids, the house, the old stories, the inside jokes, the fights everyone has forgotten but somehow still remembers, the routines, the habits, the way one person knows the other's coffee, mood, impatience, weak spots, and favorite argument style. Mark joking that he would stay for Lena only lands because Lena is not really the subject. Lena is a symbol. After the kids grow up and leave home, couples often have to face each other again without the daily chaos of parenting between them. That stage can be strange. 4 years, the family schedule gives a marriage structure. School, runs, birthdays, sports, college plans, dinners, arguments over rules, holidays, chores, all of it keeps the house moving. Then the children become adults. The house gets quieter. The marriage has to find a new rhythm. For Mark and Kelly, Lena became part of that rhythm. She became their empty nest child, their shared obsession, their comic emotional hostage. The joke about divorce and custody works because it points to a real adjustment in their lives. Their kids are grown, and now the dog gets the kind of dramatic attention parents often transfer when the house changes. That is not weakness. That is marriage evolving. And Mark's confession, underneath the comedy, shows something very normal. He and Kelly are not the same couple who eloped in Vegas. They are not the same young parents trying to build careers. They are not the same people raising 3 children under constant public attention. They are older now, more settled, more blunt, more aware that love, after decades, does not always look like a movie scene. Sometimes it looks like arguing over who gets the dog. WHY their teasing works. Kelly and Mark's public chemistry is not gentle. That is why it works. Some couples on television perform sweetness so carefully that it starts to feel fake. Every compliment is polished. Every story is flattering. Every laugh arrives in the right place. That can be pleasant, but it can also feel distant. Kelly and Mark are different. Their banter has edges. They tease each other the way people do when they have a long private archive together. One sentence can carry 20 years of context. One look can say, "We have had this fight before." One joke about the dog can become a whole marriage sketch because both of them know the audience understands the game. That kind of teasing only works if there is trust underneath it. Without trust, it becomes cruel. With trust, it becomes rhythm. Mark can make the Lena joke because Kelly knows how to catch it. Kelly can fire back because Mark knows how to take it. The comedy is not random. It is built on timing, familiarity, and the confidence that the relationship will still be there after punchline. That is what viewers respond to. They are not watching a fantasy couple. They are watching 2 people who seem unusually comfortable being slightly annoyed by each other in public. That is more relatable than perfection. Most long marriages are not endless romantic speeches. They are negotiations. They are recurring jokes. They are tiny grudges that become funny after enough years. They are debates over pets, dishes, thermostat settings, children, schedules, and who remembers the story correctly. Mark and Kelly understand that. Their marriage has become interesting not because they avoid conflict, but because they have learned how to turn conflict into performance without making it feel poisonous. That is a rare skill, and it may be one reason their co-hosting partnership works. The show does not need them to pretend to be newlyweds. It needs them to feel lived in. Their audience is not looking for perfect romance at 9 a.m. They are looking for familiarity. Mark and Kelly give them that. A marriage with texture. A couple that can laugh at itself. A love story old enough to survive being made fun of. The empty nest chapter, the Lena joke, also reveals where Mark and Kelly are in life now. Their 3 children are adults. Michael, Lola, and Joaquin are no longer little kids running through the house. That changes everything. For years, Kelly built much of her public identity around being a working mother. She talked openly about parenting, schedules, family chaos, and the strange collision between glamour and ordinary home life. Mark, too, has often spoken as a father, husband, and family man, not just as an actor. Now they are in a different season. Empty nesting can be harder than people expect. The outside world treats it like freedom. No school runs. No teenage chaos. No daily kid logistics. More space. More quiet. More time. But quiet can be confronting. When the children leave, a couple discovers what is left between them without parenting as a daily glue. Some marriages struggle because a couple realizes they have become co-managers, not partners. Others rediscover each other. Many do both. Kelly and Mark seem to have turned that stage into comedy. Lena becomes a new baby of the house. The dog gets attention, anxiety, care, arguments, jokes, and mock legal custody threats. That may sound absurd, but it is also deeply familiar. Plenty of parents pour extra affection into pets once the kids grow up. The pet becomes proof that the home still has someone to fuss over. Mark saying he would stay for Lena is ridiculous because the audience knows he is not really announcing a marriage crisis. He is revealing the emotional shape of the house now. The kids have their own lives. Kelly and Mark still have each other. And Lena has become the tiny creature everyone pretends is in charge. That is why the joke landed. It was not just about a dog. It was about a marriage entering a new stage and refusing to become boring. WHY people think they know the secret the title says Mark finally admitted what we all suspected about Kelly Ripa. So what did people suspect? That Kelly is not easy to keep up with. And Mark basically confirms that every time he sits beside her. Kelly has spent decades on live television. That requires a very specific kind of mind. She is fast, sharp, controlled when she needs to be, chaotic when the moment calls for it, and unusually skilled at turning ordinary domestic material into something entertaining. That is harder than it looks. People underestimate live hosting because it seems casual, but casual is the illusion. Kelly has to fill space, listen, react, joke, pivot, manage timing, protect the rhythm of the show, and keep stories moving without making it feel like work. She has done that for years, through co-host changes, public controversies, personal milestones, and the daily pressure of being watched. Mark married that person before the world fully understood what she would become. That is important. He did not marry Kelly Ripa, the morning TV institution. He married Kelly from All My Children, the young actress he fell in love with. Then he watched her become a media force. For some husbands, that would be threatening. For Mark, it became part of the partnership. But it also means he lives with someone whose energy, precision, and instincts can dominate a room. That is what people suspect. Kelly is funny, but not passive. Warm, but not soft. Charming, but not easily handled. Mark's secret is not that he controls that. He does not. The marriage works because he does not seem interested in controlling it. He plays off her. He pushes back. He lets her lead when she is better at the moment, then find his own lane. That balance is underrated. A lot of celebrity marriages collapse under competition. Two public people, two careers, two egos, two schedules, two versions of success. Mark and Kelly seem to have survived because they learned when to compete and when to become a team. On Live, that teamwork is visible. Kelly brings decades of hosting muscle. Mark brings husband history, actor charm, and the ability to be teased without looking wounded. That is not a small thing. A man who can be the punchline in his own marriage and still look secure may be exactly the kind of man Kelly Ripa needed. The marriage was never supposed to look normal. Kelly and Mark's marriage has always had a slightly strained public shape. They met at work, played lovers on screen, eloped quickly, hid the marriage, became parents young, built separate careers, then, decades later, ended up working side by side again in front of millions of people. That is not a normal trajectory. It is almost too circular. They began as co-stars pretending to be in love. Then they became real spouses. Then they built a family away from the soap opera set. Then they returned to co-star status on daytime television. Only now the romance was real and the audience knew every chapter. That loop is part of what makes them compelling. Most couples grow more private with age. Mark and Kelly somehow became more publicly intertwined. Their marriage became part of the show. But because it had existed for so long before Mark joined Live, it did not feel invented for ratings. That distinction matters. Audiences can smell fake chemistry. They know when two people have been placed together and told to act comfortable. Mark and Kelly have the opposite problem. They are so comfortable that they sometimes say things that sound too blunt. That is why headlines come so easily. Mark says he would stay in a loveless marriage for the dog. Kelly jokes back. A morning show bit becomes a viral marriage story. But the reason people click is not because they truly believe divorce is coming. It is because a line gives them a peek into how unusual their marriage has become. Part home life, part workplace, part comedy act, part long-term partnership. The show lets viewers feel like they are sitting at the breakfast table with a couple who forgot the cameras were there. Of course, they know the cameras are there. They are professionals. But the best moments feel like they almost forgot. That is the sweet spot. The real reason divorce doesn't fit their story, Mark's joke suggests he would stay married for Lena. The truth is probably much bigger. Divorce does not fit their story because their marriage has become more than romance. It is family history. It is shared work. It is 3 adult children. It is decades of private memories. It is public brand. It is a partnership that has survived enough phases that leaving would not simply mean ending a relationship. It would mean dismantling an entire life. That does not mean they stay because they are trapped. It means their connection has deep roots. People often misunderstand long marriages. They ask whether the couple is still in love, as if love should feel the same after 3 decades as it did after 3 months. But long marriage is not just one feeling repeated forever. It changes form. Sometimes it is desire. Sometimes it is friendship. Sometimes it is loyalty. Sometimes it is irritation. Sometimes it is teamwork. Sometimes it is remembering who stayed during the hard years. Sometimes it is arguing over a dog because a dog has become part of the household emotional center. Mark and Kelly have been through enough public life to know that romance alone is not a plan. Their marriage has needed flexibility, space, humor, forgiveness, routine, reinvention, a willingness to let the other person change without treating change as betrayal. That is the thing Mark really admitted. The marriage is not fragile because it does not depend on one perfect feeling. A newer couple might panic at the phrase, loveless marriage. Mark and Kelly can turn it into comedy because their bond is not being tested by one dramatic sentence. It has already been tested by time. And time is the one test celebrity couples usually fail. The secret is not perfection. The most interesting thing about Mark and Kelly is that they do not sell perfection very well. That is a compliment. Their public marriage feels durable because it does not sound polished within an inch of its life. Kelly can be intense. Mark can be blunt. They can seem competitive. They can overshare. They can make each other the joke. Sometimes viewers cringe. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes both happen at once. That messiness is part of the appeal. They feel married, not branded. Married. There is a difference. A branded couple has the same approved story every time. How they met, how they fell in love, how they support each other, how communication is everything, how date night matters, how they never go to bed angry. It may all be true, but it starts to sound rehearsed. Mark and Kelly give something less polished. They talk like 2 people who have lived a lot of life in the same house. That includes sweet moments. It also includes petty ones. That includes loyalty, but also eye rolls. That includes attraction, but also exhaustion. It includes grand anniversary reflections and tiny arguments about a dog having stomach problems in the middle of the night. That is the version of marriage people recognize. Not the fantasy, the daily thing. The thing that survives because both people keep returning to it. At 30 years, the love story is no longer